Hey folks, what's going on? This is Sasqwatchers, and this is Andrew and Jeremy, and this week we have a really awesome episode. We are interviewing some really cool people from the Cresson Sanatorium, and I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves right now.
Hi, I'm Lindsey Rogers. I am one of the lead paranormal investigators at Cresson Sanatorium in prison.
Yeah. I'm Angel Morales, and I am another lead investigator at Cresson Sanatorium in prison.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you
I
for having
hope I
me.
don't bombard you with these questions. I didn't know where to start or how long that you guys have been doing the tour guides and whatnot. So if I go too far, back in history, just let me know. Okay.
Yeah,
When I was doing some research, I thought one of the more interesting things about the creation of the building itself is that is it true that Andrew Carnegie donated the property for like $1?
absolutely. Yeah, Andrew Carnegie originally purchased the property to build a summer home for his mom, but unfortunately, she passed away before he got a chance to build anything. So at the time, TB was really big. A lot of people were getting tuberculosis. So he said to the state, "I'll sell it to you for $1 if you promise to build a tuberculosis sanatorium." So that's how it got
Oh,
started. That was in 1911.
okay, cool. So it was hinged on his deal that it became that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, an
Oh,
amazing dollar.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure. Especially because, at least at the time, from what I was reading, this was one of the I don't know, earlier, maybe not the first of the tuberculosis sanatoriums, but certainly one of the first few that
I
came to
believe
exist.
I believe at the time Pennsylvania only had about 3 tuberculosis hospitals, and we were
Mhm.
Mhm.
one of
Yeah,
them. Yeah,
No, it was
Okay.
one of the more advanced ones, I believe, that there was set up, right?
yeah,
Which is
absolutely.
advanced as it could be at the time, because like there
yeah,
Yeah,
really was
exactly.
no,
Yeah, for
Yeah.
that time, for 1912 time period. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. That's cool. That's an interesting fact for sure. So, for anybody who's listening who's maybe not familiar, I guess we kind of gave out the information that this building or collection of buildings, there's what, 15 of them?
Oh
oh
no.
yeah,
Yeah, there's over 20.
yeah,
Oh,
17. That
Yeah, there's over 20 within the fence line.
okay. So, yeah. So, these buildings started as a tuberculosis unit. And so a lot of people came and stayed during that period of time when we were trying to figure that out medically. Um, so I was doing some reading and I noticed that there were a lot of recreational buildings and stuff. I saw that there, if my information's right,
no, no,
there
please.
were was there like a building to swim in as well?
Swimming pool.
Yeah, so yeah, they had the main sanatorium,
Hmm.
but then they also had the outer buildings as well, and one of them was a swimming pool.
Yes.
It later got transitioned into surgery because they started to
Yeah,
perform surgery on people's lungs to try to heal them of TB at the time.
that was
So
our building 7.
yeah, that's what we call Building 7 right now. It
Yeah.
originally started as an indoor swimming pool. It was one story.
Uh-huh.
Now then it turned into 2 stories for the surgery
Yep.
center.
Okay, so I have a 2023 perspective on TB.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my 30s. It wasn't anything that we really ever had to worry about. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually don't know a lot about the illness itself. And, you know, learning about the history of these buildings, it kind of seems like a really daunting and dreadful thing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Tuberculosis is a lung disease, and it's highly contagious.
Yeah.
So just like COVID, how we quarantine with COVID, it was the same situation with tuberculosis. Only they felt it was best to take everyone that had TB and put them in one location
Yeah.
and try to cure them, try to treat them, try to isolate them, and try to protect the rest of the community.
Especially in a high altitude area, they believe that clear, crisp air was a big factor in the healing process, and it is as you can imagine with the pandemic that we went through, the tragedy at its time, it was its own pandemic. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
unimaginable. unimaginable.
They started to experiment with the surgery that I was talking about. Like some of the surgery was to remove one of the lungs or remove rib cages to allow the lungs to breathe or deflate a lung to let it rest. Like there was all these like barbaric ways that they tried to treat it because at the time they didn't
understand.
Yeah, they didn't come up with a treatment with it until the 1950s when the development of streptomycin came in.
Okay, yeah. So with all of that said, it may be easy to assume that that's kind of like a really awful way to go, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it would be so easy to like assume that a spirit might then stay in that area due to kind of that level.
The trauma. Yeah, exactly.
People would talk about how if you were a patient there, the person next to you would just start coughing up blood and they would just hemorrhage from their lungs and die. Like, so, I mean, it sounded horrific. And then to even get the diagnosis, they said was like a death sentence.
Yeah, and you just never knew. You never knew when it was going to hit. You didn't know how bad. And you imagine waking up every day, like it really legitimately could be your last coughing fit. Like it's horrible.
And there was a children unit on site, right?
Yes.
So that a lot of children were also suffering.
Yeah. So originally, they built the schoolhouse. We know it as Building 1, or also known as the Maple Schoolhouse. It originally was built as a preventatorium because what was happening was parents were being admitted for tuberculosis and the children didn't have a place to go. So they were housing the children in the Maple Schoolhouse to try to prevent them from getting tuberculosis. And that worked for a little bit until they started to get tuberculosis. So then eventually they were treated for TB.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I can't imagine. That's awful. I have three kids myself. And I just
we have 4.
Yeah.
We're in a kid competition here. I have 0. So I think the survival rates were actually quite dark for tuberculosis.
It wasn't.
I don't know the number, but it wasn't good
for adults. And it's been a while since I've looked at these numbers, but I'm pretty sure it was something like 65% of adults that contracted tuberculosis would eventually die, and children was worse. It was something like 3 and 4. Children
because their lungs were little, they weren't fully developed yet. So to get that lung disease would be
So I mean, even with like the lower percentage with the adults, over half is. I mean, you're pulling you're Russian roulette, right? Like, if you get it, I might die, I might live. So
it was like she said, it was basically almost like a death sentence when you got, told you had it. You basically kind of was like, all right, just it's horrible.
So and what can you even do?
No,
at that time, nothing.
Yeah, sit outside in the mountain, enjoy the trees.
Yeah.
I mean, listening to everyone else cough around you and the horrific screams and the surgeries and
the surgeries is what gets me. I can't imagine having your lung deflated and ribs removed to try to treat it like that.
You talked about some of those experimental surgery and some of the treatments. I think, and I'm pretty sure this was tuberculosis, but if I'm mistaken, I apologize. But I think at one point they had tried some solution of like mercury and water where they were
read that as well.
They were like funneling mercury into the lungs to like flush it out, and then it just ended up, obviously mercury is poisonous.
How just unknowledgeable we were.
If TB didn't kill you, you were lucky that the treatment didn't kill you.
Right. So as the experts, I want to posture this question that I thought of earlier. Now, like I said, typically you kind of think of tragedy leading to hauntings and, so to speak. Those kinds of things obviously happen at your facilities. But with all of those wreck buildings and the swimming pool and such young children, do you think that this may have maybe been seen almost as like some kind of haven, so to speak, and maybe there are some spirits that, despite suffering so much, kind of
their home,
attached themselves to it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a video that floats around on YouTube called I can't think of the name of it now. But there is a video floating around on YouTube that they interview a gentleman that had tuberculosis and was at Cresson and survived it. and he talks about his experience. And I think they had 2 other people on there as well. I think it was called Life at the Sand, actually, is what I think it's called. Life at the Sand. So, and he talks about his experience in a positive way.
Yeah.
He talks about how amazing the nursing staff was, how great everybody was, and he remembers that place so well, and he doesn't want people to forget what a wonderful place it was. So I do think that a lot of people had positive experiences. We've heard reports from nurses that came in, and
we've heard lots of
positive
stories.
Yeah, so there was a lot of positivity. And Angel and I talk a lot about how there's good and bad,
always
paranormal stuff that goes on campus, and I think that's where you kind of see that good and bad come in. You have the spirits that that passed away that don't have any hate toward the people that took care of them or the sanatorium, but then you have tortured souls that are not happy.
This is a beautiful thing. It's being paranormal investigators. You do it the right way. We've built we've built relationships with these spirits, and that know us by name. We know them by name, and it's just there's
that's
always
incredible.
Perfectly. There's always positive and negative. You know what I'm saying? But that's our job, to find out and build a relationship.
Okay, so that kind of almost segues perfectly into my next question here, and I mean it was a simple one, but I was curious, how many encounters do you think you've had on this site?
Oh my goodness! I mean, you're talking about me and her have been there since the beginning. 2 years of we have a home in Ebensburg, 8 minutes away, and on I guess what you would say normal people's downtime, our normal time was, hey, let's just go check out what's going on over there. Throw on our backpack and I mean, we've never been up there
and not had an experience.
And not had something happen, and that is 100% honesty.
Okay,
whether it be positive, negative, it's just something. It's alive. That facility, our property, is very well alive.
Is there a building that sees more activity than others?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I'll let my fiance.
I'll let you tell the story.
So my favorite building, and my the one that I would say sticks out to me the most, and I would say honestly with Brian and Michaela as well, is Building F. This building, when I say in the paranormal field, you can experience anything and everything, positive to as dark as you can imagine, every night, to calling names, full body apparitions, shadows, trigger objects, things that I've seen crawling on the ceiling. It sounds like crowds of people walking in. Me and her were sitting in a basement one day. It sounded like a crowd of people walked in. We walked upstairs expecting to open the door. When we opened the door, typical story, silence, looked down the hallway, not a soul there. People have walked out, heard their names being called from the building. I mean, intelligent. When I say beyond intelligent, it is just...
We had one night where we were not sure if there was a girl that was being possessed.
Oh, I will let her carry into the story.
We had to escort her out of the building and get her down to the visitor center until she finally started to act normal. But she was...
She ended up leaving.
She was not. She went completely like nonverbal with us. She was just staring. And when she would talk, it was, she wants me to come back. I need to go back to this room. It was very... And
to set the tone, it was like Blair Witch. Like we found her...
standing in a corner,
just staring at a filing cabinet, and I was like, "Ma'am, are you okay?" And she's just
she came with sisters, and they were even like, we've never seen her like this. And I was a trainer of the company at the time. Lindsey has always been my right hand, so it was like we had to escort her out, and she was not there. The way she would look at you, it was, when people say it, like they're looking through you, it was like looking through you, to the point where I was like, I have no idea what this woman is capable of.
Wow,
and the very next rotation, her family actually took her out of there. And you're talking about, you're spending quite a bit of money, and I don't think she survived 2 hours from the opening.
Oh wow!
And we used to run it till 6 a.m. So
wow.
That's I love that. That's my favorite building. I'm that crazy guy. You know what I'm saying? People run out and go in. She's holding me, but
bigger not, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're looking for that kind of evidence or proof of some kind of existence out there,
Oh,
if you're
absolutely.
out like that's, I agree with you. I think I would probably want to see the Blair Witch stuff too.
You just
Mhm.
Just
it's insane. It's out of world. It's like our favorite
You
thing is the
mentioned
skeptics. You know.
you
So
mentioned that you have these good and bad relationships
yeah.
sometimes with these spirits or entities. I want to pose a question here, and this might
Okay.
be a little bit of a flip of a question. Um, so in many different religions, there are the beliefs that with these bad events that culminates. I don't know if I'm going to say evil, but sort of like demonic presences, and that's like just a general term I'm using. I'm not speaking to any specific religion, but last week we talked about mimics,
Okay.
which are entities that
Yeah.
mimic. So what if these are all actually demonic experiences and they're mimicking the good and the bad?
So we have a thing between us, and that we very much be careful with using the D word. We
okay.
have, like I'm saying, there's a, I call it our buddy to show you how crazy we are. The one that I've seen in the ceiling in Ebb. She saw it crawling on the ceiling in the chapel. And we've actually talked to, when we were at Penhurst, we were at a Paracon, and we had two different psychics come up and have conversations with Lindsey. And, this kind of goes hand in hand with, we're talking about the trauma, everything that happened over there. A lot of people have picked up that this was kind of like a self manifesting ball of negative
Yeah.
energy that just created
It's
itself.
it's a creation of negative events that have taken place,
Yeah.
and it kind of manifested itself into a conscious being.
Yeah.
Is
So,
what these psychics have told us about this thing that crawls on the ceiling up there. But I mean, Angel and I have been investigating for 10, 11 years.
plus years, yeah.
Did several different places. We've traveled all over. In fact, last night him and I were just at the
At the
Monroe
Monroe
House
House.
in
We just
Indiana.
drove 6.5 hours to get back here
So,
today.
and that place is labeled as a demon house, and I still walked out of there saying I still wouldn't say the D word yet.
Yeah. But there's something there.
I've been doing it so
Okay.
long. I don't. I'm not quick to throw that
Yeah.
around. I don't believe that there's anything demonic at Cresson. The only thing dark that I think is there is that thing that has manifested itself into a conscious
And
being.
it's not even like so much, I would
I
say,
still wouldn't
the
even
D
say-
word,
yeah.
but I would say more like it's like the other D word, dominant.
It just feeds off negativity.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
this is me, this is mine. I mean,
Yeah.
we've run Estes methods, we've run all sorts of audio where we're talking to our friendly spirits, and the next thing you know, you get the anxiety, you get the panic. All of a sudden, the voices that are coming out the machines are panicking. He's coming. He's outside. Then it disappears, and then we have our famous dark voice that comes through, and we're kind of like, damn, all right, he's here.
Okay.
And with the tunnel system we have, it's a beautiful thing because we have a tunnel system that links to multiple buildings, and those are the buildings, including F, the schoolhouse, administrative building, the original building 5, chapel, where that being is said to be able to travel. Your
Okay.
mimic, whatever you want to call it, but there have been TV shows that have actually caught the mimics and the voices and the equipments, and people that have seen people that they know who they are, but maybe not who they are. You know what I'm saying? So
So I have a follow up on everything that you just said, and then I have basically the next question after that. But I want to start with the follow up, which is actually now a question that I had for kind of towards the end here. But did you ever think before you spoke to this psychic who explained that this is a self creation, so to speak, of despair? Did you ever consider that this buddy of yours was Joseph Kallinger? Is that how we say his name? The serial killer?
So
We've talked to
we've
Joseph.
talked to Jay Callinger.
Yeah, he's a spirit there. He's not aggressive at all, though. I mean, I know that he was obviously arrested for murder, and he is, he was a psychopath
mentally,
for sure.
he was not mentally there.
Yeah, but he's not. You can mostly talk to him in I Block, which was the old RHU at the time. Yeah, and he'll talk back to you, but he's not.
I don't think at all he's anything to do with the negative energy.
Yeah, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think as a human entity that he's strong enough to really cause harm.
That's the perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect way to say it.
Okay, that makes sense. So I know you called that entity your buddy, but do you have a favorite spirit or entity that you've interacted with that?
He's my favorite. That is like the moment I laid eyes on him, it was such a beautiful situation. I have, oh man, it's like roped me in. Everyone has that one addicting occasion, and I am like glued to figuring out what it is. And that one is, when we start getting those knocks, or we start getting that little growl, or we start getting people are like, it sounds like something's on the ceiling. That's when I'm like, oh, like maybe today's the day. Maybe
Okay.
that's mine. I will let Mamacita.
I like Walter.
Oh, there you go.
So we have E Block, which was that building was never part of the sanatorium. It was built when SCI Cresson started, but there's a spirit there by the name of Walter, and he's kind of like a jokester.
Yeah.
And he likes to pretend like
the head of the pod.
He's the head of the pod, and he'll interact with us, and we'll crack jokes and stuff with him. That's my favorite.
That's funny. Yeah.
Okay.
That's her safe zone.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the next question might be a bit of a, I don't know, catch-22 in the sense that, given the answers that you've just given, maybe you don't ever feel this way, but have you ever felt scared or threatened?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't think you could be. I don't think any legit paranormal investigator that's ever set foot on Cresson can honestly say they have never felt all the spectrum of emotion on this location.
Yeah.
Never speaking negative about Cresson, but I'm just saying, when we say you will feel everything, you can experience anything and everything in the paranormal field right here on our property.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been investigating for 10, 11 years and traveled to quite a different, places, and Cresson's the most active place paranormal-wise that I've ever experienced. And, I've been volunteering and working there for a little over 2 years now, and I mean, I get scared all the time.
She does.
Okay.
But she goes in with me. Mm-hmm. She will go in with me, so.
Okay. I think it's a fair emotion to have in that situation.
Like, anyone that says they're not, I mean, like I said, we are just raw and real. You're going to get scared. Mm-hmm. What the question is, what are you going to do when it happens? That's who you find out what kind of investigator you truly are.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So in the, I don't know, around 2 years that you've been doing investigations there, do you have like just a general idea of how many you've done?
How many we've done?
Like,
oh my goodness.
Just an approximate?
Because we've gone out during the day too. Like they host day tours as well. And I've gone up during the day and just walked around and just took equipment with me and investigated during the day for a little bit too. The place is just as active in the day as it is at nighttime.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I can honestly safe to say we have thousands of people have come and investigated with us, that have passed through with us. There were nights that me and her have been up there with 2 or 3 investigators. Brian and Michaela, that's actually how we met them. They came up and met us. Now, we're having dinner at homes and they're watching our kids, and it's we'll go up there. We've been there with 2 people that have come with us. We have been up there with 118 people. So it's like, I mean, there's been months where we've worked with 500-600 people at a time. There's been months where we've worked with 50 people at a time. Yeah. So it's countless.
We've just been up there so much.
Yeah,
it's 2 years. It's hard to.
Everything. It's like our home. We seriously, like, I consider it our home. Mm-hmm. We were supposed to get married there. It's like, it's our big life thing.
Oh, really? You're gonna get married there?
That was actually where we met.
That's how Angel and I met there at Cresson. And that's kind of how our love story started. Yeah. And so Cresson has a very, very special place in our heart. Like, not only is it, the history is amazing, the paranormal activity is amazing, the property is beautiful, but then, it
was our first date. It was our first date. Our first kiss was in Building 5, the original building. Before everything has happened, we were set to get married in the chapel. I'm a contractor.
I was just going to say, there was a chapel there. You could get married.
Yeah.
The chapel is gorgeous.
It is absolutely beautiful.
Grace Chapel.
I was going to ask about Grace. I'm a big I'm a big church nerd, so like
No, that's cool.
structure, stained
Yeah.
glass, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me
Uh-huh.
tell you a little bit about Grace Chapel. It was built in 1914, and it was built by three different. There was a pastor, a
Mhm.
rabbi, and I
Yeah.
forget who else.
Your question was actually perfect with
Yeah.
it because at one point there was a spinning altar with
Mhm.
different religions, so
So
you
you
went
would
there to
spin.
have your section.
Yeah, you would spin it for
Okay.
whatever religion that
Yeah.
you were hosting at the time. Unfortunately, at some point, the jail covered
Yeah.
covered it up, but we think that it's still there
There
and it's
underneath.
just boxed in.
Uh-huh.
Before the legal battle took place, and I'm not sure how much you know about that, but we're not allowed on the property at this time while that
Everything's
case
just
is
at hold.
while the case is going on. But before that took place, we were actually talking about uncovering that and seeing if that
Yeah.
was still there, and we were going to preserve it and bring it back if it was there.
Because the
Oh,
pictures
yeah.
that we got, like the wheels that spun on the altar, it's like someone just drove a couple nails. So I was actually going to fix the entrance flooring, the joist, that way she could walk down the aisle, have her big entrance. So it was like when we got that opportunity, I was going to crawl through there and be able to take the pictures and see like that it's really it. And there are photos.
There is
With
photos.
a dig of how it looked and the rotating altar itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. I hope
Yeah,
that
it is
works out
awesome.
for you guys.
Beautiful photos.
Mm-hmm.
Are we invited?
Imagine all of those guests that are already there just waiting for you to come back. Like that.
It's a beautiful story. When I say we have Brian is one of our groomsmen, Michaela is one of the bridesmaids. It's like when I say literally, it's a family. We are a family at Cresson. That's why we call ourselves the Sand Fam. Like it's a lot more than just you're going to a place to just investigate. Like we consider it, we're going home.
We're going home. Hanging out.
What are you guys doing? Like, where do you guys want to see? In 2 years, I guarantee you, there's still places that we haven't even seen. You know, so it's massive. You never. I mean, you have your Pennhurst, you have your your Missouri States and stuff like that, but you don't have a Cresson Sanatorium.
Well, with all of the time that you've spent there, I'm just curious, do you have any type of centralized library that you keep your evidence in?
So we have like our main hub, visitor 2 or building 2 is like where our central command. We have our website and everything, but we all kind of like keep our evidence amongst ourselves, like I said.
There is a group on Facebook called the Haunted Cresson Sanatorium and Prison. If you join that group, what we were trying to do is we were trying to get guests as well as ourselves to start uploading any evidence they find onto this group page so everyone can see it. And there's a couple different pictures on there. I think there is a couple different videos on there that people have shared.
There's a whole bunch of people that have platforms. I mean, TikTok, everything. I mean, we've met crazy YouTubers. We've met, a lot of people on TV. I mean, it's just, there are so many people how like you started off that, oh my God, I've been here forever. I've traveled through here. I didn't know it was literally right here behind the woods. And it's just, you go there, you experience some craziness, man. Like in the best way.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly, I was telling you before we started to record, that's kind of exactly the experience that I had with the sand. I have not been able to visit yet, but I fully intend to. Like it blew my mind. I live so close to it, and I didn't even know that it existed.
It's beautiful, man. But it's so beautiful. Yeah. She calls it her big beautiful beast.
Yeah, it's funny because I grew up in Ebensburg, so I grew up relatively close to Cresson, and I remember when SCI Cresson closed, and I knew it was a prison. But then after it closed is when people started to be like, "Did you know that it used to be a TB sanatorium?" And I was like, "What, really?" And I heard rumors of it, but it's so tucked back in. You can't see it from any main road, so you have no idea how big it is. And I remember, like a little over 2 years ago, I saw an ad on Facebook from Big House Produce saying, "Hey, come visit the old Cresson Sanatorium and Prison and tour the place." And I was like, "What?" And I got a hold of them right away, and I was like, "Can I investigate it? It has to be haunted." And they came up and they let me tour the place, and I was like, I had no idea this massive complex is hidden back in the woods. It's completely mind-blowing.
Yeah, the only other thing she fell in love so much was me.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, save that for after the podcast. No, it's funny though. So I grew up in the Katanning, Indiana area.
Yeah.
And Ebensburg, and I've been there many times. And I knew about Cresson for a long time, but I thought it was just kind of like one of those things where it's like, all right, somebody heard a knock on a door, or I didn't realize it was such an intimate experience.
Oh
But
yeah.
unfortunately, I live in Cleveland now. Sorry, everybody. But
Cleveland. We just drove
yes,
through Cleveland.
Mhm.
Well,
I was right here.
Yeah, no, we
We
literally
came
just
back from the state of Indiana.
today this morning.
That's right. You said you were at
Monroe House.
Monroe House, yeah.
yeah, Monroe House. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so eventually the TB problem kind of went away, and the property switched into a state school scenario.
Yes.
And we know that, especially in that period of time, that was not a very good living environment for just about anybody who spent time there, as Geraldo Rivera told us in the 80s. Um, I'm curious if you've met any spirits there that have identified themselves as being there from that era, so to speak. Maybe not TB patients, but now moving forward into the state school era.
Um, we've talked to a couple of spirits that have said that they were patients, and some of them will tell us when, and some of them don't.
We've run into all eras.
Yeah.
All eras. I mean,
yeah.
She's saying it perfectly. We've run into where they have identified as an inmate as the coughing, TB, and then like she said, patients and stuff like that. So I'm sure we've had them identify themselves. So yeah, I'm sure that we have.
Interesting. So I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit and talk about you guys now. We talked about the history and some of the hauntings and stuff for 30 minutes, and I thought it would be cool to kind of learn more about you guys and let you guys have a platform. So,
What's your social security numbers?
we're
Only
going
if you
real
guys start knowing
slow.
it came on tax season.
But I'm curious. Let's start with. So we talked about ghost hunters before I started to record, and how the show is featured on ghost hunters. How many paranormal shows have you been featured on?
Cresson, you mean Cresson, or are you talking about us individually?
Oh, you could talk about yourselves individually as well, just colloquially.
So we've had, like you said, Ghost Hunters has been there. Previous Destination Fear, Project Fear,
and
she was actually featured on the show.
Mm-hmm.
8 appearances,
really cool.
Exactly. So
that's cool.
We actually met up with a guy this weekend, and he was like, "You don't know who you're sitting next to. This is Lindsey Rogers." So. But it's been featured on a handful.
Ghost Brothers was there.
Ghost Brothers was there.
Three.
Numerous YouTubers. It's
Are the Ghost Brothers as cool as they seem on TV, or is that just like heavy editing? Because those dudes seem like they're wild.
I actually didn't meet them
we didn't meet them, but I did hear that they are a riot. I did hear that they're a riot. So kudos to them. I know when Taps was there, I was a trainer for the East Coast, and I roll up, and some guy's like, "Stop!" And I look and I see these big black vans, and I'm like, "Oh my Lord, who is this?" And then I see Taps, and I'm just like, "Oh my goodness, like these are the guys, And they're so awesome. We dealt with a lot of cool people.
Destination Fear was awesome, or they're now called Project Fear.
Yeah, Project Fear.
They were very down to earth.
Yeah, we got to hang out with them when we said Penhurst Paracon. All of them were there, and it was just like, it was just so cool because we were there for 2-3 days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, by the end of it, you're just grabbing food and you go over there, and next thing you know, I'm like, "What's up, Dakota?" You know what I'm saying? They're like, "Hey, Grant." Steve Gonzalez walks by me and Lindsey, and it's like, "Hey, come over here, guys. Like, we know y'all." So I mean, it was kind of like it's like starstruck, But it's a beautiful community, man. We've been blessed.
I met Steve, I think probably around 2009. It was a really long time ago.
Yeah,
and he couldn't have been nicer. He was just the coolest dude.
He's so cool. He's down to earth.
Absolutely.
Asked to take a picture with us. I mean, we're the ones melting. He was like, "I know you guys can I have a picture." I'm like, "What are you saying to me?" So, it's so cool.
I was so scared to talk to him about anything ghost or haunted related. So I can't even remember what the conversation was like. But I know we didn't cover any of this stuff. It's because I
Yeah,
didn't want to be that weird, annoying guy who's like, "Oh, dude, let's talk about ghosts."
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You know what's cool is they we have the personalities that even Brian and Michaela. It's just kind of like we make friends with everyone, and it's like we just the biggest thing that I've ever heard anyone being in this field is like don't automatically assume you have to come up and just talk about ghosts. Come learn about us. Come say hi. We all have stories. We all know what we do. We all know our profession, but we're everyday people, So it's like it's really cool. So yes, Steve, all them, they're just completely down to earth. Could sit down, have a conversation, and laugh, and just high five, see you later type of people.
Even who else did we just recently meet? Heather Taddy
Oh yeah,
from
we're
the old show Paranormal State. We met them at
Okay.
Moundsville.
Moundsville, West Virginia Penitentiary had a paracon about a month ago, and she actually walked up to our table and
I built a coffin, and she wanted to meet the builder of it, and we found out she's a local Altoona girl, and had to get her and Lindsay's picture together, and she was cool, cool as can be. Like, hey, what's up? Like, where you been? And she's like, oh, well, me and Katrina, they got stuff going on, and it's just crazy to talk about all the big names that we grew up watching, and we're just like, oh, okay, tell them I said hi.
Yeah. You're like, you made it. You're one of them. But as somebody who grows up in a fandom, you're just never able to kind of grasp your mind around it. You could be like that for 10 years from now still.
Yeah. You
So I totally, I
understand.
understand.
You get that that first year or two, the stardom, like, oh my god, you have no idea who I just, and then like you just run into them next time, and you're just like, hey, what's up? Like, how you doing? Like, what are you doing these days? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty, it's surreal. It's surreal. Like I said, we're completely blessed. Blessed.
So, I had a question. I guess based on this conversation, you guys aren't involved with the hydroponics business that was put there.
It's kind of separate. It's a separate entity. It's the same, but it's separate. If that makes any sense at all. The people who Big House Produce is who was running the tours and who we are employed through. They originally leased the property to do a hydroponics farm. They had no idea what they were getting themselves into with the tourism and the paranormal.
Big thanks to Lindsey right
people
here.
People like me started blowing them up like, hey, I want to tour this place. You can make money off this, and so the hydroponics business, they kept that down at the juvenile center, which is toward the entrance, closer to the entrance, and then the main campus is where all the tourism kind of took place. So I mean, it's kind of ran business owned by the same people, but Angel and I are just paranormal investigators. We
because
don't
there's
know
lots of different things
farming.
that go on there. The urbex, the photography. It's not just paranormal or just hydroponics at all. Like it's
okay.
We have all aspects over there. I mean, it's a completely different. We have
that's
people
interesting.
that love to come and just explore. We've had people that specifically love to come and do some modeling, like to just do the photography. Wedding photos. And then you have your hydroponics, you have your agricultural side, and then you have, like Lindsey said, our side. It's we have a lot of different phases to it.
Are there still areas that are set up as the prison that it eventually became in the 80s?
Are you saying you could tell it's a prison with
like cells and stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's very unique. Like when you see the property, there's so many buildings. Like I said, there's like over 20 buildings in the 34 acres that's fenced in. So number one, there's a huge fence when you drive back there, so you could tell that this is a prison complex. But as you walk through the property, you could tell the difference between what was the TB and what was the prison, because all the tuberculosis buildings have a Tudor style look to them.
Yeah, they're all very similar.
They all look Tudor style, and then you have the cell blocks that are red brick.
Yeah.
So you can tell what was old and what was new, and there's like a combination of both.
Structurally, you could just separate the time periods.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to wrap up here in a moment, but one thing that I wanted to kind of give you guys the opportunity to talk about, if you're allowed to, is the legal battle. And I noticed that you have the Cresson on tour, and I was just curious, anything that you that you can say that can help in any way, you're welcome to, and to talk about Crescent on Tour, and just let listeners know how we can help and support you.
Absolutely.
Plug it.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're in a legal legal battle right now. The original landlord, Carl Weaver, owns the property. He Big House Produce was in a lease to buy, and in that agreement, someone else came in. This military preservation group came in and offered a higher amount, and then Carl kind of bullied his way around. So we're in the middle of that. Events have been suspended.
Everything is suspended right now, currently.
Yeah. So that's about as much as I could say about that.
Okay.
There's this military preservation group that's claiming that they already own the property and that they're going to run events, and that's false information.
Yeah, everything is still on.
If you look up the property deed, it's still under Carl Weaver's name, and it's still, if you look up the case, it's still an active case in the Supreme Court. So everything is still active. We're still fighting. There is a GoFundMe that's out to try to help, because we've had to hire an additional lawyer that's a little bit more aggressive. So
we have a website now. Was it Crescent?
Yeah, so we have a website called the Cresson Sanatorium.com. On there, that will link you to the GoFundMe to help donate, to help us save the sanatorium. There's also merchandise you can purchase, like T-shirts, coffee mugs, things like that.
Go to the cause.
That goes toward the cause. And then we're also doing on tour stuff.
Boom! Now to the birth of Crescent, the Sand Fam on the road.
On the road. So we're just taking all of the staff and we're visiting other locations, helping support them and their business.
Yes.
But that also helps us with our mission to try to save the sanatorium.
Yeah. And letting everyone know that we're here. We're here. We're still gonna have fun. Come out and hang out with us. All of our friends, Brian and Michaela, funny enough, is tomorrow's a big day for us.
Tomorrow's the first event that we're hosting on the road. We will be at the Nancy Glow Haunted Liberty Theater.
Okay.
We're running that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now another first for me, hearing about something locally haunted that I had no idea.
Yeah.
I know about that. I know about this place.
Yeah.
I don't even live there anymore.
I live in Hastings. Like, how do I not know this stuff?
Oh yeah, we're gonna rock it. We're actually we're doing a history walkthrough tour. We're doing a come and eat with us. I'm actually gonna be cooking for everyone. We're gonna be doing like a nice buffet style and rock and roll, hang out, and then we're gonna do some investigating, run some rotations, and teach you how to use some equipment, and give you, 2 locations actually to spoil it, and let you free roam, investigate it yourselves. And we're all gonna be there. Brian, Michaela, a handful of the Sand Fam, and this is just the first of many. Another big thing that we're gonna do that we're announcing is Friendsgiving.
Yeah, so we'll be hosting another one. We're in the process of trying to book another one for November, and we'll call it Friendsgiving, and invite you to come have Thanksgiving with us and investigate the Nanny Glow Theater. But we're also actively looking for other locations to host events. We've been talking to a couple different places. So definitely, stay tuned on our Crescent page. Stay tuned on the Facebook page, because we'll announce all of that. The ticket sales will all be on the CressonSanatorium.com website. And like I said, any location that we host an event at, it's helping both that location as well as us to try to save the sand.
Yeah, we're all about spreading the love. Just we're still here.
It's important to do that. And I think the paranormal community is one of those communities where almost by virtue, we have to stick together. There's so many naysayers, so many people who want to criticize, our beliefs and the stuff that we know are true. And their unwillingness to accept facts then becomes shifted reality, so to speak. So I think everything that you just said is fantastic. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I love that you guys are doing it. I love that you guys are putting up a fight. I need you guys to win that fight so I can come hang out at this sanatorium.
We're all about positive vibes.
It's going to be a lengthy process. I will tell you that, because I know a lot of people are like, have you heard anything yet? Because it's been in the Supreme Court's hands since, I think, about July, August. and we're at the mercy of their timeline. And it's
Yeah.
the Supreme Court. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if this doesn't get drug out for about another year, to be honest with you. So it's a lengthy process. We're fighting. We're not giving up.
Yeah, we're still here. That's why we're on the road, letting you know that we're all in this together, no matter what, and we're still going to do what we love, and we want everyone to come together, no matter what, where, no matter what location. So, big thing for us.
And with that said, I don't see how anybody could not be supportive of you guys.
Thank you very much.
There's some major concerns with this military group that's trying to take over.
It's the military. So.
they have no experience, and granted, when Big House Produce took over, they didn't either, but we had so many plans for preservation, to have a museum put on the property, as well as several other things that I can't really talk about, but just know that they were, big plans for the future. That
we still have big plans.
Yeah,
for the future.
That's still on the, it's still being planned if we can get it back. But they've been caught in lies on Facebook saying that they're going to do something, and then you see, conflict where they said we're going to do the paranormal too, but then there was comments on YouTube saying no, we're going to use this for LARP events, and we're going to dig trenches, and we're going to do reenactments on this site. And we're like, where's the preservation? These are historic buildings,
especially with preservation in your name.
And they said,
come on now.
Yeah.
And then it was, we're going to preserve the buildings. And then the next post is, hey, can you help us with a GoFundMe? We need help cutting grass because we didn't realize how much it was going to cost to cut grass up here. And we're like, what?
What are you guys doing?
I think ultimately with things like that is unfortunately would probably demolish the entire grounds at some point.
That's everybody
made my head itch on that one.
In addition to the fact of rumors of them displaying Nazi symbols everywhere they go, this group had actually asked Big House Produce to do a reenactment about a year or so ago on the property.
What are we reenacting?
World War II era, and I mean they have websites that show everything and that advertise.
They asked to do a reenactment, and Big House Produce said, as long as you don't display the Nazi symbol, because one of the owners is Jewish, and they said as long as you do not display the Nazi symbol, and they refused to do that. So therefore the event didn't take place, and then they try to outbid them on the property.
So there's some personal issues here more than just trying to take ownership of a building.
And there's general community distress. People are concerned that are in that area, because here you have this group of people that could potentially, be Nazi sympathizers, and now they have this major campus, this compound that they could be living in and doing whatever they want there.
And then no one wants to hear all these bombs and shootings going off in the middle of the night. And I mean, it's just come on. I mean, best of all, up there at Cresson, you don't want to hear, wars going on.
I thought you were going to say Cleveland. I thought you were dunking on me.
No, man. No, not at all, man. No, I'm just not a football fan.
Yeah.
I thought you were dunking on me.
No, I'm dunking on them. It's just their vision is they're the complete opposite of the spectrum of what we are. And that's why it's really important to us. We just want to speak the truth. Mm-hmm. We're not even here to really badmouth terrible. They are doing a very good job on doing it all by themselves. Mm-hmm. We just want to spread our love, our light to our supporters. People like y'all, we greatly appreciate, sharing the love. And that's our main purpose. We want to just bring everyone together. Like you said, this tight-knit community. We don't want no BS. We just want to do what we love with the people that we love. And
this location is amazing, and I just want to share it with absolutely everybody. I think everybody should experience it. I mean, and it's more than, like we talked about earlier, it's more than just the paranormal. There's day tours. People come up and they just walk around. They get the history, or we allow you to free roam, where you just have a time period where you come up and you just walk around and you just do a self-exploration.
Whatever you want, you don't get that everywhere.
No.
Not on a location.
Most places force you to do a guided tour, and then they charge you this astronomical amount. And we don't do that. We give you an option. We want to show you. Do you want to free roam? Do you want to free roam? Here's a map. Have fun. Mm-hmm. Or do you want a guided? Our guided history tour is 2 hours, because by the time we got done showing you and telling you everything in 2 hours, we still haven't showed you everything.
No, bring your walking shoes. You know, you're getting your steps in that
Yeah.
day, 100%. You know, my thighs look amazing since I started there.
I was just gonna ask, actually.
How are your thighs?
Can you show them off on camera?
Cresson's a big reason why we can keep up with the 4 kids. 100%.
Okay, well, with all of that said, I wish you guys nothing but the best. I'm going to be
thanks,
absolutely supportive. I can't thank you enough for coming on to the show.
No, thank you all for having us.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and
Yep.
free you guys from our restraints on this podcast. And, you know, I loved it. And if you ever want to do it again, we're here.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely,
Rock and roll.
yeah.
That's totally cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Stay in touch. I really this was fun. I really enjoyed this. Even if
Two
Cleve
good souls, bless you guys. We got CressonSanatorium.com. And what was the Facebook group?
There's a Facebook group called Haunted Cresson Sanatorium in Prison. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
You have to ask to join it, and then an administrator will go in and approve it.
Yep.
So I will get denied.
So far, I mean, they wouldn't be incorrect to do that. He's very annoying. You have to know him your whole life.
We accept everyone.
Yeah, basically, as long as you agree to the community standards. If you don't agree, we deny you. But as long as you agree,
don't wear your brown.
So this is gonna sound like a joke, but we end every episode with either "Thanks for squatching" or "Squatch you later," and
we've been doing
I was curious.
Like we're all for it.
I was curious if you wanted to maybe go ahead and end the show with one of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah,
Which I think "Squatch You Later" sounds good, right?
That's just because that's the one he came up with. So I'm gonna let you two choose whichever one you want. There's no favorites here, but
for watching.
Your discretion.
Watching?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yep.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thanks for squatching.
Thanks for squatching, everyone.
Yeah, squatch you later.
Squatch you later.